Hello. I just finished reading a brand new novel which I found so excellent and gripping, even though I wasn't expecting to be quite as gripped as I was, or I didn't see how the story could be that thrilling, even though it centers around the search for a serial killer, because it's based off from a real historical case of the Yorkshire Ripper, and we know the identity of that killer. But the author has a really clever way of drawing the reader into the story. So the book is The List of Suspicious Things by Jennie Godfrey. It's a debut novel, and it begins with an author's note where Jennie Godfrey recalls how one of her most prominent early memories is the Yorkshire Ripper being captured and discovering that her father knew him. So it was very close to home. So if you're not familiar with the case of the Yorkshire Ripper, I wasn't before I moved to England. This took place in the late 1970s in the north of England, and there was someone who was killing young women over a period of years, and an ongoing search was conducted looking for this killer over a period of time. And obviously this created such an atmosphere of fear and suspicion, and people wondering about their neighbors and suspecting their neighbors. And so there's this immediate emotional charge to the story, knowing how close to home it was for the author. And we begin with an adolescent girl, a 12-year-old named Miv, who's living in a community in Yorkshire. And she has a best friend named Sharon, who's really her only friend and who she feels really strongly connected with. And because there is this atmosphere of tension, it begins in 1979, so it's well into killings have been going on for years. And so Miv's father reasons that it might be safer for them to move south, but Miv doesn't want to leave her best friend Sharon, and so she embarks on a mission to create a list of suspects and try to identify the serial killer alongside her friend Sharon. She's inspired by her favorite Enid Blyton adventure series, and Miv's a really dedicated reader, so which immediately endeared me to her. And so that's the premise of this novel, where Miv and Sharon set out to make a list of suspects. But as they start to investigate their local community, they discover that there are a lot more troublesome issues and unspoken crimes going on in their area. I mean, even within Miv's own households, because her mother is in this kind of comatose state, and she's silent, and everyone kind of tiptoes around her. So there's this whole mystery around Miv's mother, as well as many other people in this community. And so as the mysteries build and grow, there is this sense of tension which builds and which adds to this overall atmosphere of fear, and you start to learn about all of the inbuilt prejudices and dilemmas that are going on at this period of time in the late 1970s in the north of England. But it also becomes so compelling as a coming-of-age story of Miv growing and learning more about the world and herself and friendship. So ultimately, there are a lot more twists and surprises in this novel rather than just looking for a serial killer. Part of the great joy of this book is that it immerses the reader so much in this time period in the north of England and through an adolescent perspective. So there's the pleasure of getting cans of dandelion and burdock from the local shop, and there's the smell of parkin. And if you don't know what parkin is, it's a ginger cake, but there's also other spices, and it's kind of hearty, but it's also light and delicious, and it's native to Yorkshire, and now I just really want a slice of warm parkin. If I had more time, I would make a video baking a loaf of parkin to show you what it is while discussing the novel, but that takes a lot of time to film that kind of thing and make that kind of video, but yeah, maybe I'll go out and buy some parkin after this. Anyway, alongside all of these wonderful details about this region of England, there's also an awareness of larger issues which are going on, such as the closure of a lot of local industries leading to a lot of unemployment, and the imposing figure of the new Prime Minister of Margaret Thatcher. Now, there's certainly a lot that you could criticize about Margaret Thatcher, but something that was focused on at the time, of course, was that she was Britain's first female Prime Minister, and the fact that she was a woman. And on the very first page, Miv's very opinionated auntie makes the statement saying, "A woman in charge of the country just isn't right." So you're aware of these attitudes of sexism, which are so prevalent at the time, and this really goes to the heart of the issue of the novel of a serial killer, because Peter Sutcliffe, the Yorkshire Ripper, he was targeting female prostitutes. And this attitude of sexism really cast a shadow over the investigations and search for the serial killer as well. And you can see these sexist attitudes being portrayed in the novel through conversations and through the attitudes of some of the characters, especially in how people would turn a blind eye to domestic violence and pervy men inappropriately touching young girls. There's also the insidious effects of larger concerns such as racism and mental health issues, which are shown through Miv's interactions with a number of different characters. Godfrey creates a clever structure to humanize these matters in the lives of her characters, because as Miv adds more and more people to her lists of suspects, the narrative briefly switches to different individual perspectives. So we get from the inside the emotional turmoil and fear that they're experiencing, and it's also really charming to see Miv from an outside perspective as she is going around not so subtly making her inquiries. And this device is mostly successful in presenting multiple perspectives and giving a deeper understanding of the issues at stake, although sometimes I wish it had spent more time lingering on certain characters. I would have liked to know a bit more about their stories to see the full complexity of them. And I understood why it couldn't stay too long on any one certain character, because it is effective in showing the connections between all of these people in the community and portraying this atmosphere. But at the same time, while this is a very good structure for the novel, it does come with certain limitations. Some of the most poignant interactions are between the adolescents themselves, especially Sharon's budding romance with a neighbor boy named Ishtak, who's a motherless adolescent of Pakistani origin, who receives almost daily racist attacks, and that's really meaningfully portrayed, but also the very tender friendship that Miv has with Sharon, and that's really wonderfully shown, and their friendship becomes increasingly strained as this, at first, fairly innocent and fun project of theirs of trying to track down the serial killer becomes increasingly serious. Godfrey is really skilled at showing the all-consuming turmoil that can overwhelm young people and how this can lead to violence. There are many engrossing revelations in this novel, and the climax of it is utterly thrilling. So I found this to be a really big-hearted book, and I enjoyed reading it so much. I would love to know if you have read this novel and what you think of it. It's been a bestseller. It's been doing really well. It's wonderful to see a debut that is so skillfully written as this is, getting so much attention. So I'd really encourage you to read it if you haven't already. But I hope you're doing well and reading good things, and I will speak to you again soon. Bye-bye.